Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having an excellent day today. You might notice that we are in a different location today. I'm all by my lonesome this evening. We've had a little bit of some unexpected events. Master Autry is taking care of some things on his own right now, some important matters that he had to attend to. So it's going to be a fun little show tonight, guys. I'm excited to do this. Kind of weird to do this all by myself and on my own, but I thank you guys for being able to take the time out of your evening to come join us here. So, perfect topic. Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I'm trying to be fancy over here. I tried having the chat on the screen so that I wouldn't have to look away too much. But, Pool Mike, I hope you're doing well today, sir. Thank you so much for always being here in attendance and keeping the chat going and giving us new topics. If you guys would like to send in your topics, we always have the email address that is always in the description of the YouTube video. So you just go down below, you find that description, and you are able to go on in there and send in whatever topics you'd like to. So last week, Master Autry did the show all by himself. I had some unexpected things take place in my life where my job, it's not unusual for me to drive about 100 miles a day. Happens all the time. So Master Autry was awesome in doing his job by himself last week, and I really enjoyed that show. I hope you guys did too. I got to tune in at the last half there and give some of my thoughts and opinions on some things. That's what the show is about, right? Our thoughts and our opinions. So this is the Honest Concepts podcast, where we do talk more than just our walk through martial arts, but more importantly, our walk through life. Normally Master Autry is by my side. We're in his living room. Today we're at my house, so welcome to the house. I hope you enjoy it here. It's nice and cozy. And usually every week we go back and forth. I present a topic and we talk about it. The next week he presents a topic and we talk about it. But it seems like the pattern of the show over the last 2 weeks is we just take turns doing the show now. So next week he'll be on and I'll be in the chat with you guys. So hopefully not. Hopefully next week we can all get back together and do our thing. So tonight's topic, guys, we're going to be talking about the unexpected. The unexpected. Excuse me. Last week, Master Autry had to do the unexpected, be here by himself. Miss Jenny Easter, so good to see you. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Hope you've had a great day. But tonight, Master Autry is absent, and it was the unexpected. I wasn't expecting to do the show by myself, and last week he wasn't expecting me to be absent. But we often hear the term expect the unexpected. A lot of times people will say that when you first get into martial arts, they'll throw a little punch at you and they say, oh, you gotta expect the unexpected. But in life, there really are things that are just too unexpected to be expected. And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. What to do when the unexpected happens. I've had the opportunity of training with Master Autry. It's not just the opportunity, it's the blessing. Training with Master Autry for a good portion of my life. When I turned 30 years old, I can officially say I've spent 50% of my life training in the martial arts. So what a great honor that is, and what an awesome instructor I've had the opportunity to work under. And now we have a relationship where I can do this podcast with him and really grow and get to learn from him, with you guys, and get to learn with you guys every single Tuesday at 7:30. So what a cool thing that is. And a few years ago, I had the opportunity to start teaching martial arts full time. When I was about 16, somewhere around there, I was still in high school. I was young, maybe a yellow belt perhaps, about 16, and Master Autry, his school was laid out in a way where you walked into the front door and it was like an office area. Mrs. Autry would sit behind a desk, and there were some things out there for sale, little weapons or gi tops or uniforms and stuff, and tape or whatever. And there's this really cool, like almost Japanese style archway that you'd walk through. When you got in there, it was just a beautiful floor, sword racks and belt racks and everything. It was just a beautiful school. Truly, it was a beautiful school. And we'd finish class and we'd all bow out on the mats and we'd start to walk our way out the door. And we'd sit there in that office, and Master Autry, he spoke to me. And he said, "Sir, have you thought about what you're going to do when you get out of school?" And, when you're 16, what do you really know, right? So I looked at him, and I didn't take too long to think about it because I had an idea of what I wanted to do. So I pointed back onto the floor through that archway. I pointed to the floor where those mats were, and I said, "That." That's all I replied with, just one word, said "that." And truly, I got to do just that, thankfully, with the help of Master Autry. We were doing so much when I first got into it, real heavy. We were doing tournaments and seminars, testing and private lessons, and really it was so cool at the time. It felt like everything was coming together. My wife and I were getting pretty serious at that time, and looking back at it, it was kind of like living a dream, really. I mean, you imagine, when you're 15 years old and you just fall in love with martial arts. A lot of times at night, I should have been doing my homework, but I'd be out in the backyard practicing. And I just had such a love and a passion for it. Truly, I did. Still do. All those years, all those nights, just thinking about martial arts, you finally get to a place where you can teach it full time. It really was like a dream come true. I was enjoying myself, really having a good time. And one day, I woke up and I opened up my phone. As you do, you wake up, you open up your phone, and I saw that there was a live White House briefing on YouTube. And so I said, okay, well, I'll check it out. I've got some time before I have to leave. I was actually supposed to go teach that day. And this was during Donald Trump's first term. And I opened up that live stream, and he's on stage, and he is addressing a little situation that at that time was known as the coronavirus. I didn't know it in that moment, but I look back and I realized that I had been hit with the unexpected. Martial arts is one of those things that's just hard to do alone. You can train by yourself, but it's so much better when there's a community. It's so much better when you have partners, when there's an instructor there to guide you. There's a famous samurai. His name's Miyamoto Musashi. And he speaks about in one of his books that, a student who has lost his instructor, a student without a master, it's like a guy on a boat without a compass. You make just one fraction of a miscalculation, and then miles down the road, you're actually way, way off course. It doesn't take long before that one little miscalculation will send you far off the course. And so it's so important to have that community there. And really, that's what martial arts provided for me. So much more than just punching and kicking, but it really provided guidance and structure, and it gave me friends, it gave me mentors, peers, people to look up to and to aspire to at the time. And hopefully I tried my very best to emulate that same exact feeling that I got in the martial arts to help change my life in the schools that I run today. So I see this White House briefing and I realize, I'm going to be out of a job for about 2 weeks. Is it's hard to do this stuff by yourself. It's hard to have a training partner when there is a worldwide quarantine. And before I knew it, I was back working at a grocery store. I was living with my girlfriend's parents, and I felt like I was at square one. I couldn't teach. That's all I was doing at the time, was just teaching. And we were so busy, just doing so much stuff. Felt like I was at square one again. I started training at 15. I started teaching when I was 19. And by 22, I was teaching full time. 3 weeks after my 24th birthday, I felt like I had lost it all. Everything was gone. For months, I would sit outside for hours, just training alone, just trying to process what had happened. Martial arts has always been a medicine to me, something I do whenever I experience loss, whenever I experience a win. It's just something that I do. It's just been a part of my life for so long. So usually when something happens, I process it through martial arts. I'll go outside and I'll grab the sword and I'll train, or I've got a little punching bag or something, and it just helps me so much. And here I was having to train alone during this time. The unexpected can change a life. Really, truly, it can. And even worse, the unexpected can take a life. In April of 2021, I started to teach again. All the lockdowns and stuff had started to really kind of lift, and people were still practicing social distancing and whatnot. So what I was doing is I was meeting my students at a local park, and it was maybe about 15 minutes away from where I was living at the time. And I would get to that local park somewhere around 8 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there. And I would get back home maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I would train outside for hours. I mean, in the sunshine and the humidity. I would often go home feeling so sick. There was many times I'd actually have to throw up before I would go home, just being in the sun for so long and training like that. But it was worth it, and I never missed a lesson. It was important to me, and still is, to have those students, especially in a time like that when everybody was so separated, to be able to come together and to do something that makes you feel good about yourself, to enjoy something with somebody else. When you have a passion, you have a desire to share it. I don't care who you are, if it's oh man, I just found this really cool recipe. You gotta try this cake I tried. Oh man, the tacos down the street are so good, you gotta go try them. We always want to share something with somebody whenever we enjoy it, and martial arts is like that. So I had one student in particular who would drive well over an hour to come see me. He would come way up north from where we live. I don't want to give too much, but it's north of Charlotte, and he would drive well over an hour to come out to that park, work in the humidity and the sunshine. And you're here too? Oh, hey, DJ Pear. Hey, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hope you're doing well today. But he would drive over an hour to come by and see me, hang out. We'd do some training together. He was just such a cool kid. He was so cool. He started training probably around maybe like age 13, and sometimes you see it in a student. They just have, from the beginning, they just have a love for the martial arts. It doesn't care what you show them. It can be an old technique, a new technique. It's just that desire to learn, that passion that just thrives in the world of martial arts was just so clear through this young man. He was awesome. Really cool guy. And he was a young guy, he did what young guys do, what young people do. And of course he had issues at school, and he did things that got him in trouble at home or whatever, but I never saw any of that. I knew about it. I would talk to him, and his parents would come speak with me, and we would have talks with each other, and but I never saw that in the martial arts. So I really related to the guy, really, because it seemed like martial arts was a place for him when he got into the dojo. He could do things in a way that never had a negative impact on himself. He could enjoy the class, he could enjoy time with other people, he could be around good examples, and it really did a lot to help him out. It really did. Excuse me, Master Autry speaks often about this, is that I got in trouble one time. I was about 15 years old. I was 16 at this time. I got in trouble, and my mom grounded me for martial arts for 2 weeks. And I was begging her. She's like, Mom, please just take my phone. Please do anything. Here's the keys to my car. Take anything. Just please do not take away my martial arts. Please. And she knew it was the one thing I cared the most about. It's the one thing that would make me learn my lesson. And so I was grounded for martial arts for a couple of weeks. But, Master Archer always talks about martial arts is a good thing. It's a good place to be. If people are having a hard time, if children are acting up, the dojo is a place they can go to be better, to do well. So I had this moment with the student where we realized that this was a good place for him to be, and if he was going to be punished, just punish him at home, but send him to the dojo. If he really needed to do something, I'd have him clean the mats or whatever. That was his punishment, right? And he loved every minute of it. He loved every minute of it. He trained with me often. Good kid. Really good kid. And one day I got a call on the phone. It was from an unknown number. I remember what I was doing. I was actually sitting in my work truck at the time. I was, still working this blue collar job that I'm currently working now. And I didn't recognize the number, so I didn't pick up. And I got a text message. I won't say the man's name, but it was his mother texting me to let me know that and the night before her son had passed away. And I was just shocked. I mean, geez, Master Autry has got so many stories, and he tells them way better than I do. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around through all this. If I can grow up to be half the storyteller Master Autry is, I feel good about it. But I was devastated. Master Autry had always told me that when you get into this, when you are a martial arts instructor, you're so much more than just a karate guy. You don't just chop wooden blocks. You don't just teach locks and throws. People will come to you with all sorts of life issues, and they want you to know things. They'll talk to you about what they're doing at home and how they're doing in school, what work is going on like. They'll talk to you about marriage. I mean, when I was first started teaching, it was overwhelming. When you're 19, 20 years old, it's like, ugh. I know nothing about life. I don't know why you're bringing this to me. Here, make a fist. That's all I can teach you is how to make a fist. I don't know nothing else about life. But I really wasn't ready for something like this. It was the unexpected, and it hit like a bag of bricks. I was so proud of that guy. He just did so good in martial arts. And when we lost him, I was just devastated. The unexpected comes in all forms and shapes and sizes. And what I've learned over the years, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this, but in martial arts, doesn't matter who you talk to, most people know this term, most people know this phrase, is that, the punch that hurts you is the punch that you didn't see coming. And that's how life is. We can often hope for the best and expect the worst, but sometimes there are just some things that you just can't expect. And that punch that you don't see coming is the one that hurts you. In my experience in life, when you get hit by something that you didn't see coming, the only way that I've ever been able to handle it is just with time, to actually take the time to cope and resolve. And when I lost the two schools I was training at and I was teaching at in 2020, I would spend hours outside training alone. And I would cry, I'd get angry, I'd get sad, I'd get happy, I'd get just a wave of emotions just because it was something I'd never dealt with before. In the grand scheme of things, it was just a couple of years, but when you're 21, 22, you're like, this is my whole life and my empire has fallen. I'll never recover from this. And I really did feel like that at the time. It felt like there was no hope. I feel like I had just lost it all. And when you look back on some of those things, it's not so hard. It's just hard in the time because your emotions are so involved, because it hurts. It hurts to lose things. It hurts when the unexpected hits you. And so in my experience in life, what seems to work the best for me for the unexpected is to actually take my time to just sit in those feelings. A lot of times we talk about running away from our feelings or trying to bottle them up or push them down. But what I've heard and really experienced is that sometimes we have to embrace it. Sometimes we have to lean into those things. Really, martial arts is no different. There are some things in martial arts where you have to just go head in. They're scary. It's scary to do that. We have a handful of techniques that I teach my students all the time that we can run away the best you can, but when there is no place to run away, we have to go in. We have to get in there and do what we can to defend ourselves in the martial arts. And sometimes our feelings are the same way. We can run away from them, we can hide from them, but it doesn't fix it. At least in my experience, the only way to fix it is to lean into it. Really embrace it. Embrace that hurt. And after a while, things begin to resolve on their own. It's amazing. I see you guys chatting, so let me catch up with you for just a minute. I'm sorry. This is Pool Mike, says, embracing the unexpected is great management trait. I think it builds character. I think it does too. It certainly builds perspective. It certainly builds perspective. Character is not something that can be grown with weak material. Real character is something that is grown through trials and fire, hard experiences, and what comes out of that is just amazing. We live in North Carolina. We're the gemstone capital of the country. I don't know if you know that or not. It's really cool, actually. We've got, in our ground here, there's emerald, ruby, sapphire, gold, and silver. The fourth most rarest gemstone in the world is actually home to North Carolina. And some of the gold that we have here is bound with mercury, and so it's not very good. But when you take some of that metal, whether it's silver or it's gold, and you put it in the fire, you burn it, and you take a hammer and you beat out what's called, the dross, that nasty stuff, that mercury. You're taking what's bound to it and separating it. What comes out is beautiful gold. You may have 999 silver. There have been emeralds pulled out of the ground in North Carolina that have been into 7 digits worth of value. And really, truly, I agree with you, Pool Mike, that those type of things is what comes forth from the unexpected, embracing those things. When we do embrace it, the treasures come afterwards. Very good point. Miss Easter says, your path has made you the person / instructor you are today. I could not ask for a better person to teach me something I didn't know that I needed. Wow. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Your words are too kind. Thank you very much. Pool Mike's putting me on the fly here. He says, tell us a situation where the unexpected was positive. I'll tell you. Well, I try to relate everything to martial arts, so I can give you a few of them in the martial arts where, Master Archery asked me to sit down in his office one day. And this was, oh, goodness gracious, when I first started in martial arts, I didn't speak to him. I barely even looked at him, unless he was talking or teaching everything. Yeah, I didn't just, fierce, you know what I mean? If you've never seen the man do martial arts, it's fierce, tenacious, graceful. It's just amazing what he can do. After 50 years of training, he's just a marvelous instructor and martial artist. And so a lot of times you're just intimidated by that man, especially when you're 15, So it was very rare for him to call me into his office, but he called me into his office one day, and I was a green belt at the time. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Mrs. Archery has something for you. And I said, yes, sir. And so I didn't know what to do after that. I said, yes, sir. And he said, go into the office. So, yes, sir. He just bowed to him. Yes, sir. Okay. Here I go. I go into the office, and Miss Autry, she sat behind this beautiful desk, and she was always in there doing a lot of the computer work, and she took care of a lot of the students. Master Autry was an instructor and was, phenomenal at it. And Miss Autry deserves a lot of credit too, because Miss Autry probably knows more about martial arts than I do. She's probably an expert. She could probably do a whole martial arts podcast on her own, actually. So funny. But sitting there on that desk was something I didn't recognize. I had no idea what it was. She handed it to me. It's a big old plastic container. It was a huge plastic container, probably about the size of my torso, and it was heavy. I'm looking at it. I didn't know exactly what it was. And Miss Autry, she's so sweet and soft-spoken, she said, Master Autry wanted you to have this. And she said, it's an assistant instructor's gi. If you don't know what a gi is, it's just a karate uniform. But this was an assistant instructor's gi. It was blue. Most people wore black or white, but this one was blue. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. An assistant instructor. I was a green belt at the time. I had barely spoken half a sentence to Master Autry throughout my time there, I don't even know if at that point in time we had had the conversation that I mentioned earlier where he said, what do you want to do when you get out of high school? And I pointed at the mat and I said that, But that goes to show you, we have 5 minutes left, and I hope that was a positive unexpected for you, Mr. Pool Mike. There's dozens of them like that. But really, truly, most of those stories end the same way. It's something where Master Autry and Mrs. Autry did something kind for me. Last week, I got to tune into the last half of the show that Master Autry did, and he wanted to speak about me for just a little bit because I wasn't on camera, and he said some very kind things about me. And so I'm going to use the old Uno reverse and do the same thing to him for the last couple of minutes, if that's okay with you guys. Some of you might know him personally, but some of you who tune into the show are actually my students. And so the way you view Master Autry is probably similar to the way I did. He's just, that is a master at his craft. And when he's doing what he does, you just watch and don't talk, let him work. Master Autry is one of those people who in some ways the world doesn't deserve. In a lot of ways he actually took me under his wing. I tell people about this sometimes. It's that without him and Mrs. Autry in my life, they taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be a husband, taught me how to eat properly, sit upright. He may not even know he taught me that, but they invited me over for pizza one day, and I'm just digging it in with my hands. I'm eating, getting all greasy and messy, and I look over, and they're just so clean and neat. I was like, I've never seen anybody eat like that before. You guys are like civilized humans, so I've never seen this. He taught me how to eat, how to sit upright. So many things that he's taught me in my life. Work ethic. How to do job interviews, how to dress. All the things you would expect a father to teach a son. Master Autry taught me those things. And what's so funny about that is that he didn't have to. It wasn't his job. And he didn't do it just for bragging rights. He didn't do it so that I could start a martial arts school. It had nothing to do with his ego, ever. If it was, he wouldn't have reprimanded me the times where I deserved to be reprimanded. I truly do believe that Mrs. Autry and Master Autry have done for me, which they have done for countless of other students. Master Autry's taught over 30,000 students in his lifetime. I'm not the only one. I've met strangers in restaurants talking about martial arts, and they can tell you the exact same thing that I just told you. Master Autry and Mrs. Autry do it just because it's the right thing to do. They do it because they enjoy doing the right thing. And so I'm telling you from personal experience, years and years worth of experience, every time we get on this podcast, he tells the truth. What you see is what you get. It's amazing, actually, the type of influence and impact one man and his wife could have on the world. And now we get to even do it here on the internet, where hopefully one day, I can even pack my kids and maybe even my grandkids around a computer and say, that's the guy that taught me, So it's pretty cool, actually. Now, here we are at 7:59. Miss Connor Rain says, I didn't realize you'd be live. Cool Mike says, great clothes. They are special people. I admire both of them. Yes, they are very, very great people and a very special couple. Probably the coolest, greatest marriage I've ever seen in my life. Just great examples of people. But guys, I can't believe it's 7:59 already. We did it. We got it. We did 30 whole minutes. I hope you enjoyed my house. I hope it's cozy for you. Just sitting on the couch. I do appreciate your attendance. I do appreciate you guys chatting. Those of you that are just lurking, weren't able to chat, we greatly appreciate your company here. Again, guys, my name is Sensei Bronson Long. Normally we do this show with my instructor, Master Autry. He just got busy with some things, and he's going to be catching up with us eventually. He'll come back on the show soon, so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are too. We're live every single Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Excuse me. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you later, guys.